that like doesn't make you a bad songwriter to collaborate. It makes you a better songwriter because you're actually joining forces. It's about finding the right people to write with. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Sara and I are collaborating a bit more on this record, so we'll see. We'll see. But I think, did I answer your question? You seem very satisfied. Yeah. God, get off your backs about the driver's license thing. Holy shit. Just kidding. If you want to see me drive a car, though, you can watch the Astronautilus video.
It's true.
For contrails. I do drive a car.
Illegally. It's awkward because we both know how to drive. It's just one of those things where it wasn't a super big priority when we got, like, I know for a lot of people it's like you're 16, you get your learners, and then you get your driver's license. And for us, we grew up with a lot of people who drove. We turned 16 and we were like, can someone give us a ride? Yeah, we were like the biggest losers. We were just, Mom, we were mooches. No, I don't know exactly what it was. I guess I always make this joke, but I just like feel, this is going to sound absurd. But I just had this feeling that I would always just want to be driven, you know, around. Not like a servant, just...
You can think of another word besides absurd.
But that's what it is. It's like I almost had this feeling like where I was like, I could go get my car license thingy, and then I was just like, nah, you're here. You just, not you, because you can't drive. But pretend Tegan is like, just insert a friend or a girlfriend, and I'm just like, you can drive, right? Just let's do this thing, you know? And it's just kind of been that way since I was legally allowed to go get my license. But it's come up, you know, a little bit more. And I think as you become an adult, like this is serious. I'm being serious now, but you know, Tegan and I have had some success. You know, where we do fine. I own a house. I paid a lot of taxes in the USSR and in Canada, and I feel like I have a tremendous amount of responsibility, and I'm an adult, and even though sometimes I walk by a mirror and I see a 17-year-old, I know I'm actually a grown-ass lady, and I think sometimes I get this like weird deep panic where I'm like, holy shit, I don't have my driver's license. Like I actually will have like a fear response sometimes to that information, which used to just sort of make me feel like a little punk. Like I'd be like, I don't have my license, what are you going to do about that? And now just I'm like, what are you going to do about that, you asshole? Like, go get it. And see. Next question. Yep. Oh, you again. I already asked you a question. No, I asked you a question. Okay, yeah, you too. Sorry. You guys are hogging it in the second row. You picked them. I know, it was me. How dare you ask a question I know, sir, I really apologize. I'm really sorry for yelling at you. Come again? Say that hold up part again. So many y'alls, I was like, let me just get this straight. Who do y'all like to play with at festivals? Okay. Yeah, I got this one. Best part of our job is absolutely like traveling around and getting to meet a lot of other bands. We've met some really great, we've seen some amazing shows. We've been so blessed to play festivals. Like we've seen everyone from Neil Young to Paul McCartney to Tom Petty. We saw Tony Bennett play once. Like I know everybody's like, did you see anyone that was under 70 before 1952? Oh, Massive Attack. Yeah. Anyway, yes, the great part of our job is getting to play live music. I mean, I like being in the studio, but it feels pretty miserable. It's pretty hard on you as a person. Writing is pretty lonely, but touring is just, I mean, there are bad things about touring, but it's pretty exciting. I mean, we get to pick the bands we tour with. We get to play festivals with all sorts of bands, so it's really good. So, I mean, the list is massive. I feel like we've played festivals with every band out there and seen some pretty amazing shows, so. Really cool. But the last couple of years, I mean, Cyndi Lauper was a big one for us.
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah, that was really fun. She's amazing. She was great.
So many people. Sounds really good.
Yeah. She looks fantastic. Like, this is gonna sound very vain, but you know, when you're an artist and you are always on display or whatever, you know, you're big. You can't help it. I think there's an emphasis on how you look and how you're aging, and especially for women, and it's sort of a negative part of our industry. But the second I met Cyndi Lauper, I just was like, please God, let me look this good when I'm older. Like, she looks good. Looked great. Like, we ran into her in catering, like, the first day of the festival, where we were doing, like, a bunch of shows on her True Colors tour. And she was just like, I mean, I think she was wearing leather pants, but that could be a lie. But she was just like, she looked good. She looked fantastic. She took good care of herself. She looked great, and I remember thinking, like, she must have just taken care of herself, and she had like, this really positive attitude, and she was so friendly, and I thought that was fantastic. Because there's a little bit of a stereotype that like if you're a musician and you travel, you're going to have to look like you were run over and acid was poured on you and like someone beat you with a bat. You survived and now you're here. And like I feel like I hope that Tegan and I will, we'll still maintain a healthy lifestyle and we'll look decent as we get older. Are you praying? A little bit. My favorite show of the last 2 years was Pendulum. Do you guys know who Pendulum is? So good at Whiplash. It was really good. That was my favorite show.
Electronic music.
Yeah, that would be my recommendation. And the new M8. How did they look? Did they look aged? You couldn't even see, I couldn't make out, at points I was like, we went up to a balcony so I could try to count how many people were on stage. It was such a good show, but it very much is electronic music. Like it's a lot of this. They're doing that? Yeah, and so you're like, I can't get, what's happening? So you're saying that if we just,
we need to jump around and dance.
Just turn the lights down and put lots of fog on stage.
Put your back.
Yeah.
But no, honestly, it was a really good show.
Next question.
Yep. Okay.
We're really favoring the front.
I mean, no,
we did not do media training. This is a rumor, but you know what? I just read
a rumor we started 2.5 hours ago at the last Q&A. We started a rumor at the last Q&A that we had gone through media training, which is something we just recently learned actually happens.
It does happen.
So basically bands, actors, directors, like people who have to do interviews go through like a tutorial where they teach you how to disseminate information about your project in a way that's like easily quotable and how not to get yourself into hot water, basically.
You feel like you're reading from a media training packet. It's amazing. Like what you just said was very succinct.
Yeah, because I've done the media training in my head for Sara and I. And obviously, as we all know, for those of us that follow Tegan and Sara closely, Sara doesn't always follow the packet. She says whatever the hell she wants to say, and that's good, and that makes us Tegan and Sara. And so I suggested potentially in the last Q&A that Sara was about to go through Q&A training, or no, you had already done it, but then you were like, do you remember what happened?
No.
I can't remember if I said she went through it or she was going to go through it, but either way she probably needs to go again.
I would consider it. It's very interesting today with the internet. I think that more artists... It might be the heavy breathing into the microphone that makes them laugh when you start talking. I think today with the internet,
You're so serious.
I know. We
Tell us more, Tony Robbins.
My understanding
With the internet today. That's where you're at. You started again.
My understanding of the internet these days is that you do have to be very careful with what you say because everything that you say generally is sort of, it's retweeted or reposted or, whatever. And I think that there is more of a focus from... Settle down. Cool it.
Don't laugh at Sara, she's not funny.
I generally think that it's probably better to bite your tongue when you can, and I think that probably the joke about media training is we've been joking that maybe sometimes we could probably say less. And I don't know if that would make us less likable, but it probably would make us a little bit less quotable, that's all. And but this idea of media training, I'm not totally turned off by the idea of it. As we were, when we were doing the DVD and we were looking back at the last 10 years, a lot of what happened to us was sort of like uncharted. Like we were just sort of like winging it. We would be like, okay, like we're entering this next phase of our career and like what's that going to be like and what can we expect? And a lot of times we didn't know. And now that we're at this stage in our career, there's actually a lot of people who can sort of like guide you. It sort of sounds like death. Like an angel meets you at the gate and then takes you to the next stage. But that's kind of what it starts to feel like. Like there are people who can actually help you get to the next stage.
Not for all of us in the band.
Right. I don't mean literally death. I just mean like we are in this kind of like weird walkabout in a world that's already been charted, and there are people who can sort of like guide you from one stage to the next. And media training is kind of one of those things. Like once you start to reach a bigger audience, you have to be more careful about what you're saying and the kind of influence that you have on people. And I think it's like there's a sadness about like leaving behind the time in our lives where we were just like playing to like 20 people and like driving around in a minivan or whatever. But then there, like you realize that there's like there's a responsibility when all of a sudden you're playing to thousands of people or you're talking to hundreds of people. And I think maybe that's the point of media training is that they're trying to like make sure that you don't just act like a big jackass. I'm not sure,
We'll do it and we'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, like maybe we'll just get back to you about it. I'm not sure. We'll see if we do it. Yeah.
With media training, we probably won't tell you about it.
We won't be allowed. they'll be like, okay, first lesson of media training.
Don't talk about media
Don't really
training.
talk about media training with people in the public. Okay, next question. Anyone? Okay, back in the back, yeah?
Hi. My first question is, when y'all were younger, did you have any formal vocal training or music lessons? Or are you like self-taught musicians? And then my second question is, if you could be any flavor of ice cream, what would it be and why?
Great question. It's very generous of you to ask if we've had actual formal training at our job. No, we haven't. I don't know if that's obvious, but no, we were self-taught. I mean, we just loved playing music. I mean, it was very organic. We kept playing, and people kept asking us to play, and people kept showing up. So it just all of a sudden was 2011. We were like, oh my god, we're still here. Regarding ice cream, I had an amazing mint, like an organic mint flavored ice cream a couple months ago in the summertime, and it was from this company called Cool House in LA. Right? Who's saying, oh yeah? Right? It's amazing, right? Love the best fucking ice cream I've ever had. People follow it on Twitter and they drive around behind the ice cream truck to get, it's unreal. Anyway, I had it by accident. I don't even indulge in dairy. I had vicious diarrhea afterwards. But that is the kind of ice cream I have. Another question. Right there? Yeah, you. Yep.
Hi, my name's Megan, and I really enjoy traveling, and I was wondering maybe where one of y'all's favorite places to go to that you get kind of excited about on the tour, or even just vacationing or something, and why?
What is this thing vacation you're talking about?
Break there. A rest period.
Oh, you mean my house in Costa Rica? Is that what you're talking about? It changes for us, I think. If it has to do with a professional, touring kind of perspective, I think that generally we liked places that didn't make us sad or we would lose millions of dollars. We don't literally lose millions of dollars, but I always had a really weird feeling
Media
about
training.
Media training. When we would go to Europe, I would always be like, I hate Europe, because of every country I would just be like, it would be so difficult, and then we loved Australia, because Australia was really easy, and there was kangaroos and fans, and I was like, I love Australia. But as
Sometimes kangaroos with fans on their backs.
yeah, I mean, just bouncing around in front of you, and you're like, how the hell don't you love that? But as the years go by, in fact, I find myself actually really enjoying the places that are a challenge, more so than the places that are easy, because if you're away from home, it's almost like, the new experiences make it easier to justify being away from home. So, and some of the places that are easier to tour, you've done it a couple of times, or, for example, Australia, we've probably done 10, 15 times, 500 times, 5,000 times, and so it's like you start being like, oh, I love Australia, but gosh, we've been there so many times, so